Hi everyone, welcome to Fat to Thin Senior RNY. I'm Raven. I was 76 years old when I had gastric bypass surgery on December 16, 2019. Last week I talked about how I just wanted to eat cookies and drink beer and what I did about it. In this vlog I'll be talking about the insidious ways we stretch our stomachs. If you're curious, please continue to watch and join me on this journey. Last week I talked about how I just want to eat cookies and drink beer and what I did about it. Well, I bought beer and I bought cookies. Well, I finished the cookies. There's still all of the beer. Can I tell you? Maybe I'll get around to it one of these days. In this vlog I'll be talking about the insidious ways we stretch our stomachs or other ways to sabotage yourself saga. Because this is an ongoing thing, you know. I found this week that using a big plate causes me to be overly full. I stretch my stomach. After surgery, when I first had surgery, I bought those tiny little plates, little dessert dip plates, and I used that as my primary plate. I also bought the tiny little condiment bowls and used those. And I was very satisfied with the amount of food I ate, and it was very good at measuring the food without actually measuring the food. And then you got to stop and think too, after all of the nutritionists and whatnot say, use a smaller plate. Pretty good piece of advice. Some of us, including me, I even bought the tiny little bariatric silverware. At some point, I don't know, recently, I went up on my plate size. I think it really had to do with not washing the dishes, you know. I went up to a teacup size, you know, the teacup saucer size. Then I went up to a salad plate. And then I started using larger forks, the salad forks, and then every now and then I would use a full-size fork. This was not a good idea. Absolutely not a good idea. I don't know why I did it. I mean, I should have just stayed with the small plates. I was very satisfied with the amount of food on those plates, and I never felt overstuffed. I felt good. I mean, I was really content with the tiny plates and the tiny amount of food that was on those plates and the forks. I noticed that when I use a larger plate, I feel over full. And what I'm really doing is stretching my stomach. So, I realized too that if I continue to eat using the teacup saucer, for instance, that I'm going to stretch my stomach to the point where it feels okay to have a teacup amount of food, which is teacup saucer amount of food, which is a lot more than the little condiment plates by twice as much, easily. And so when it gets to be normal, you know, it won't feel right unless I have that amount of food, which of course keeps my stomach stretched, and eventually, you know, you eat a little bit more. So realizing what I was doing to myself and wanting to nip this in the bud, I went back to my tiny plates. And when I realized that, and I happened to be serving myself at the time, I transferred the food from the teacup saucer, from the saucer, to the little tiny plates. What are they? Dipping plates. And I realized that there was twice as much food than I would have eaten if I had used the small, tiny little plates that I had. And so I ate all of that was on that tiny plate. Half of what I put on the saucer, and I felt full, and I didn't feel like I really wanted to take another bite. I probably would have if I did. And I realized I really was full. I did not need that other plate full. And if I wanted it, I could always have it later, you know? The thing is, I think that the larger plates encourages me to eat more, to shove more food in my face. Not only shove food in the face, but want to finish what was on the plate. And because it's so much, I probably am shoveling it in my face fast in order to get rid of it. Something as simple as a larger plate. I think that the small little dessert plate, or whatever the heck kind of plate that is, I think it's a condiment plate. They're made by 𝗏𝗏, and you can get them at Walmart. Something as simple as a larger plate can keep you fat. So that was my observation this week. I have to tell you too about the beta blocker that I'm taking. This is really nothing to do with RNY, except that I turned up with a heart problem after I had the surgery. And they say it's because the stomach and the heart and the esophagus and all of that stuff is all right there next to each other, and they all affect each other. But eventually my body should go back to the way it was. Well, anyway, so I was taking, at one point I was taking atenolol. Then I started taking metoprolol, because each of those I was having side effects. And this last one, which I started 2 weeks ago, propranolol, it was horrible. I mean, I think I've had every single one except my throat closing of the side effects. I had pains in my legs and my feet. The pain was rising from my feet up my legs to my hips. Wednesday night I took Rowley out for a walk. I could barely walk the 10 minutes it took to get to the dog park and back. And when I came back, I actually fell. I thought I raised my foot, but I don't think my foot came up off the floor. Since I've been taking propranolol, I've been having, if you've ever had a charley horse or a leg spasm, the pain that comes after the spasm is over with, you get this, like your muscles are really hurting like that. That's the kind of thing without the spasms that I was getting. My right foot was flapping while I was walking. I had no control, or very little control, and it felt like my foot was turning from the outside towards the arch, going under. And it really hurt to walk. I was having pain in the backs of my fingers, mostly down in here. Down in here, this really hurts. I actually burnt my finger, and I didn't feel it. It was like my hand was there resting on the side of the pot, and at some point I said, "Ooh, that's hot." But it had been resting there. I should have hit it and jumped, you know. I mean, it was hot. Let me see. So I said, I'm down to less than a quarter of a mile of walking a day. I just can't do it. Although I'm getting better, because yesterday I did make a quarter of a mile. And I felt pretty good about it before my ankles, my leg started really hurting. Down the side of the right side of my leg, right leg, is numb. There's no feeling. I mean, I can feel that I'm feeling something, but Lord knows what it is. And then to top it all off, I woke up around 4 o'clock this morning, screaming with pain in both legs. I felt that if I didn't stop taking propranolol, I would be confined to a wheelchair very soon, and that the weakness would be permanent. I felt like my legs were dying. They are coming back to life now. I still have numbness on my right leg, but my left leg feels pretty good. And so I said, okay, it's time to get off of that stuff. And then, of course, there are some other side effects of beta blockers. Beta blockers are used for high blood pressures. So that means that about 50% of the population over 60 years old is taking a beta blocker. Or even if it was 10%, that's a lot of people taking this stuff, you know. The other side effects is, of course, that it causes baldness and weight gain. Now, for the last 3, 4, or 5 months, I have not gained, or I have not lost anything. I mean, I would lose a pound, gain a pound, lose a pound, gain a pound. Not going anywhere since I've been taking these drugs. Since about 3 months after I started taking these drugs. So, and my hair, and yes, I can't say whether the operation caused my hair to get bald on the top or what. I had a lot of stress before I had the operation and lost a lot of hair on the top of my head. I do a comb over, you know. And, but it is growing back now. So, I don't know. But this medication does not help. Okay. So I dropped the pharmaceutical meds. I spoke via email to my doctor about getting off of this drug. He said, tapering down early this week, and if things don't improve, then I should stop taking it altogether. I stopped taking it altogether because they were not improving. It was getting worse, and I figured I'm going to end up in a wheelchair, and this is going to piss me off, you know. So I'm going back to the stuff I used to do. I've started taking magnesium pills again, 500 milligram. Magnesium lowers your blood pressure, reduces stomach acid, and is a prophylactic for migraines. So as a result, I don't need Prilosec for my stomach, because I've been getting GERD since I had this operation. I can't really say GERD, it's more like acid in my stomach. It doesn't come up to my throat. And I definitely don't need this propranolol. It doesn't work. Well, magnesium doesn't work on everyone, but then neither do pharmaceuticals. After all, if it did work, I wouldn't be getting off of them, you know. I think that the pharmaceuticals, in my case, are a hell of a lot more dangerous. I seem to be allergic to most of them. Even aspirin and stuff I can't take, you know. And anyway, Rowley's been at my side since I fell. When I walk, I have him hitched to my waist. I have his leash attached to my waist. I have a runner's leash so that it can circle around me, you know, if he goes around me, that kind of thing. When I fell, he was upset. You know, just really, and he's been like by my side ever since then. We haven't really been walking for this last week because every day it's more and more pain. I figured, oh, let me try an orthotic in my shoe. Let's try different shoes. You know, that kind of things. Thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. It turns out it's really that drug. He's not really getting good exercise, and he's beginning to put on some weight. You wouldn't think it would be that fast, but yeah. I reduced the amount of food to make sure that I'm not overfeeding him, which I had been. And I throw more balls for him to play and get running, so he goes and runs up and down the steps and that kind of stuff during the day to keep him trim, because he's handsome, you know. We don't need him fat. He's a good dog, and he's a loving dog. So anyway, to sum up, I'm feeling good. Actually, I'm feeling pretty good. It's cold outside, but beautiful. And I'd make this choice for surgery again in a heartbeat. Because even with all of these odds and ends problems, it's opened up my life. And I look at things a lot differently now. And I do things a lot differently now. So please subscribe and share this video. Don't forget to click show more. There's a link down there about how much your stomach can really hold. It's rather technical, and they show your real body. And the other article I put down there is why you leave the store with more stuff than you intended to go in there to get, you know. Both are pretty interesting. So anyway, take care of you and yours, and blessed be. See you next week.